In the news tonight, we have another confirmed case of COVID-19. Expect more community cases, says the Health Ministry. And funeral classified super spreader as search for two drivers continue.
From the studios of FBC Suva, Edwin Nang.
Bulawinaka, Fiji. The daughter of the 53-year-old woman who tested positive for COVID-19 has also contracted the virus. For more, we join Koroi Tandulala live. Koroi, you were at the Health Ministry briefing. What's the biggest concern tonight?
Edwin, with one more case being found, the daughter of the resort worker, authorities are genuinely concerned about the possibility of case of transmission in our local community. This second case is currently in isolation, having been quarantined over the weekend together with 11 other family members. Medical teams are currently going around trying to track down everyone this family may have come into contact with and could have possibly infected.
Koroi, given that COVID-19 is highly infectious, are authorities expecting more cases?
That's right, Edwin. In fact, the Ministry of Health itself confirmed that they are certain there are more cases out there. And as of this afternoon, the medical teams are conducting a massive house-to-house screening in Nadi and Lautoka. As many as 500 people may have been exposed to COVID-19 when the 53-year-old woman attended a funeral in Tavakumbu, Lautoka on Saturday. Edwin, the Ministry of Health will be also conducting 600 tests on a daily basis from today onwards to try and identify the possible other cases for the next 2 weeks.
Koroi, these 500 individuals, do we know if they had the COVID-19 tracing app?
What we can confirm is that the woman, the resort worker, had the COVID-19 app. However, the Ministry of Health cannot confirm whether everyone else she came into contact with have the app as well. We're told that if that were the case, they would have been able to identify everyone else the woman may have come into contact with, and they have already been found by now. Edwin.
Vinaka Koroi, and as you've heard, there's another positive case of COVID-19. With more cases being forecast, the Health Ministry is now upping the ante to fight the killer disease in Fiji. Pranita Prakash reports.
There are now 3 cases in the country.
None of the 69 primary contacts have tested positive for COVID-19 except for the hotel staff who worked as a maid and who contracted the virus while working in the quarantine facility. Only one of the 267 secondary contacts has tested positive so far. The daughter of the hotel staff, who together with the rest of her family, have been in quarantine since Sunday morning.
Dr. Fong also stresses that the first case, the soldier remains in quarantine.
The soldier who tested positive over the weekend remains securely in border quarantine facility. He never left. He was identified as a positive case in quarantine, and he never entered public spaces.
He says the second and the third case have been the focus of contact tracing due to the extensive exposure with the public. Pranita Prakash, FBC News.
The funeral service attended by the 53-year-old woman last week is branded a potential super spreader of the recent COVID case. The funeral was held in Tavakumbu, Lautoka on Friday and Saturday last week. The woman travelled between Nandi and Lautoka, not knowing she had contracted the virus.
If you are at the funeral in Tavakumbu at Pedaliema Church on Friday 16th April or Saturday 17th April, and have not been contacted, please call 158. Please do it right now. And stay home until the Ministry of Health and Medical Service can check on you.
And Christiana Uluwai joins us live now. Christiana, as we speak, I understand the search is still on for 2 drivers who transported the 53-year-old woman.
Edwin, as of this afternoon, the Ministry of Health is still yet to identify the taxi driver, the driver of a grey taxi and a minivan driver who services Nandi and Lautoka. The 53-year-old woman traveled in these 2 vehicles to and from the funeral site in Tavakumbu on Saturday, the 17th of April. Now, not everyone who attended the funeral has been screened and tested as yet, and the Ministry of Health is pleading with these individuals to contact them on the COVID-19 hotline 158. That's the COVID-19 hotline 158. Edwin, these same individuals must stay home and not come into close contact with any outsiders under any circumstances. The recent cases have also been classified as the highest risk cases Fiji has faced since the pandemic began. Edwin.
Naga Christiana, the Health Ministry expects more community cases of COVID-19 in the contained areas. Due to this, starting tomorrow, movement will only be allowed for emergency purposes, employment and other essential services. Josiah Nanunga reports.
Fijians in the Greater Nadi and Lautoka containment areas are advised to stay indoors and avoid unnecessary movement from tomorrow.
If you need to go outside, wear a mask. Keep your distance from others. Head straight home once you finished your work, shopping or accessing essential services.
This has prompted authorities to run 600 tests per day over the next 2 weeks at the minimum. Dr. Chemesa Tunrawu is urging people in these areas to provide accurate information if they are being interviewed by health officials.
The health team is intensifying our surveillance and screening program, particularly in Lautoka. The team at Lautoka are putting together some 30-odd teams who will go out in the next few days and get to each and every family, every home, to try and undertake the surveillance and the screening program.
Dr. Fong says the ministry has been informed that some supermarkets are not following the COVID-19 safety measures, and those found guilty will be shut down. Jose Nanunga, FBC News.
And health services for patients needing immediate and ongoing treatment will continue to be provided. Chief Medical Advisor Dr. Chemesa Tunrawu highlighted this in light of the current COVID-19 situation. Lina Rees reports.
Dialysis patients around the Nadi and Lautoka containment areas can go through the border to access services.
We know them, we know their names. We've got their names in a list which has been given to the police team at the border. So all they need to do is to identify themselves at the border.
A team from the CWM hospital will also be deployed to provide services outside the containment areas.
So those who get sick or injured during this time and need to access tertiary level care, they can either go to Singatoka Hospital, to Rakaraka Hospital.
Permanent Secretary for Health Dr. James Fong says Fijians need to remain alert.
We need to recommit ourselves to these practices that have protected us until we can get herd immunity through the vaccines.
The Health Ministry is urging the public to continue to observe the COVID-19 safety measures to help contain the spread of the virus. Lina Rees, FBC News.
Up ahead, we have a look at what students got up to on the first day of the holidays. And stunning revelation in alleged murder trial. Welcome back. We continue today's announcement of, we continue coverage of today's announcement of a new case of COVID-19. And we now join Felipe Naikaso live from the West. Felipe, what have you seen following today's announcement? Has there been any change in people's behavior?
Edwin, following the announcement that was made earlier today, Fijians in Nadi will be more proactive to ensure they don't contract the virus. Earlier today, I was around the Nadi area and also in Nadi town, and what I saw was that majority of Fijians wore masks, had hand gloves, and were carrying with them hand sanitizers. But it was also clear, the message from the press conference today, that more people needed to wear gloves and masks while they are in public spaces. Banks and restaurants had put in more stringent measures. For banks, they only allowed a certain number of people into the banks, while restaurants, they only allowed takeaways, and they were very strict in this matter. However, Edwin, it was a bit disappointing to note that a few supermarkets in Nadi were not following the COVID procedures. There were huge crowds doing shopping, no social distancing distancing at all, and especially when people were checking out their items, there wasn't any 2 meters of social distancing. And I hope that from tomorrow these supermarkets will ensure they're putting more strict measures to ensure that people are safe while they're out and about. I also spoke to a few people just a while ago, and what they've told me is that they've downloaded the Care Fiji app and it's on. They also say that from tomorrow they will make sure that they do not they'll restrict their movement around the containment area. They also will be at home at most of the times to ensure they're not a burden to the Ministry of Health testing teams that will be coming around. And Edwin, just lastly, these Fijians have also praised the work done by the Ministry of Health to ensure that Fijians are safe and to ensure that more Fijians are not coming into contact with the virus.
Naka Felipe. The Ministry of Health stresses no one is completely vaccinated unless they have received the 2 necessary AstraZeneca jabs. Permanent Secretary for Health Dr. James Fong says the soldier and the 53-year-old woman who tested positive over the weekend received only 1 jab each. Corey Tandulala reports.
The soldier and the woman were waiting for the 10 to 12-week period to receive their second jab when they contracted the virus.
Again, I need everybody to understand. Neither this woman nor the soldier are vaccinated. Vaccinated means you have 2 doses. They have received 1 injection.
The 2 are part of the group of frontline workers who got vaccinated last month. Head of COVID-19 Vaccination Task Force, Dr. Rachel Devi, has on many occasions emphasized on the need for people to get their second jabs.
It's absolutely essential that apart from the first jab, and then absolutely essential that an individual gets the second jab, all other measures for COVID-19 continues.
24,000 AstraZeneca vaccines arrived in the country last night under the COVAX facility. The Ministry of Health is calling on all eligible Fijians to register for vaccination online at the earliest. Corey Tandulala, FBC News.
And with the school holidays brought forward, many parents are looking at ways to keep their children occupied and out of harm's way. Medaseni Lesuma, a mother of 6, says she's happy her children are at home. Kelly Vadala reports.
Many parents had a relaxed morning as the school holiday began today.
As a parent, 3 weeks, it's quite a handful for me because I got things to do as well. But I'm happy they're here and I know they'll be safe home during this pandemic.
One of Medaseni Lesuma's son was happy to be home from boarding school.
Today I'm just watching movies. I feel more excited about holidays. Just came back from KVS. I need to spend more time with my family.
Just help my mom with going shopping in the village.
Lesuma says she is ensuring that the children are occupied.
Like in the weekends, I woke up late this morning. They were watching their movies, and we had our breakfast at about 10 o'clock. So it was lunch and breakfast, not like it's always.
I was helping my neighbor clean the house, cook food, and I'm thankful for the Lord for this holiday.
Just like many parents, this mother is happy to have her children home and safe during such times. Kelly Vadala, FBC News.
And University of the South Pacific students who were to graduate later this week may miss the biggest event of their academic life. Many have worked hard for years and endured sleepless nights, but the pandemic has affected their big day. In light of the recent COVID case, large public gatherings have been put on hold. Lena Rees has more.
Working mother of 2, Antoinette Parker, was looking forward to the graduation this week as it also marks a special day for her.
The day I was supposed to graduate was actually my 50th birthday. So everything was planned. Like I had my dress done. I asked my sister to get my salu done. I paid for my gown. I mean, the situation arose. It was kind of a huge letdown, but that's beyond our control.
For Epeli Lalangavesi, he had plans to pay tribute to those who taught him during his time at school.
I had this whole concept of a Japanese costume because I wanted to pay tribute to my Genesis friends that I had an amazing time with.
The University of the South Pacific is still looking at logistics on how the students will receive their certificates. A total of 2,350 students were due to graduate this Thursday and Friday. Lena Rees, FBC News.
On to other news quickly. 2 hotel rooms were booked for 44-year-old Jennifer Ann Downs and her 3 children as a safe haven in July 2019. A former regional security advisor for the United Nations revealed this while giving evidence via Skype in the trial of Congo national Henry Lusaka, who is alleged to have murdered Downs.
Charles O'Hanlon testified that on 19th July 2019, one of the staff came to his office in an alarming state with photographs of Jennifer Ann Downs and her husband Henry Lusaka. Lusaka is on trial for allegedly murdering Downs at their rented home in Sevi Street, Suva on 23rd July 2019. O'Hanlon told the court that in one of the photographs, Lusaka was bare-chested with a kitchen knife on his chest as if sending a warning. The witness also said there was another photograph in which Downs was shown to be in a frightening state. He said he paid a visit to Lusaka's home with a police officer. He said when Lusaka opened the door, he was aggressive and the house looked untidy. He also testified that it seemed as if the children were not looked after well while Downs was away in the Marshall Islands. He testified that Lusaka kept bragging about his connections with the police and criminals and that he was on high alert. He said he visited the home several times leading up to the alleged incident in July. Pranita Prakash, FBC News.
Still to come, India struggles with COVID crisis. And later in sports, help on the way for maritime athletes.
A number of small businesses in Nosori are struggling to make ends meet. Retailers say there is a huge decline in sales as customers are always on the lookout for discounts. Kelly Vadala reports many Fijians are focusing on basic food items.
Sunshine Clothing, like many others, is struggling to remain open.
They do ask for discount. Sometimes they fought with us for discount. Some, our daily customers, like we give them discounts. We have to give. If we don't give, then we lose customers.
Managing Director Siteri Vuso says they're making less than $1,000 in a day.
Like normally when we buy the bills before, we have like our interest is good, we're doing good. But now, like customers, they demand like lower, they ask for discount.
Like I think in our future, like there'll be very rare shops left and the rents and everything is like too much.
Over the last couple of months, some businesses have closed down as they did not make enough sales. And for restaurants or eateries around this area, it's a struggle.
At the moment, it's really down. It's really down and it's very hard.
Most businesses in Nosori have diversified their services, but even this is not enough to keep them afloat. Kelly Vadala, FBC News.
Lower local and international demand and staff reduction were the top 3 factors impacting businesses during the pandemic. This was revealed by the Fiji Bureau of Statistics in its COVID-19 Business Impact in Fiji report. The information was collected through telephone interviews with 236 enterprises earning $8 million or more annually. 94% or in every 20 businesses, 19 were adversely affected by COVID-19. Here are the local exchange rates as said early this morning. The Fiji dollar rose versus the major international currencies such as the Chinese yuan and the US greenback, but declined against our 2 major trading partners, the Aussie and Kiwi dollars, as well as the PNG Kina euro and the Japanese yen. Prices were mixed on the commodities market. Oil rose slightly but remained above $63 a barrel. Gold dropped a few dollars at $1,769 per ounce, and silver closed higher at $25.89 per ounce. Sanifa joins us from HFC Bank. Sanifa, what are the big economy's money markets looking like following the vaccination program?
The US dollar tumbled near a 6-week low against its peers today, as the euro led a rally on the back of a brightening outlook for the region's vaccination program. The dollar had already been losing traction as US bond yields have hovered below a 14th-month peak last month, reducing the greenback's yield attraction. On the positive side are the hopes to overcome the deadlock of the $2.25 trillion US infrastructure spending plan unveiled by President Joe Biden as a Democratic Party member showed readiness to alter the details on Republicans' criticism. Further, escalating the COVID-19 vaccinations in the US, the UK, and Israel are also favorable to the market sentiment. It is worth mentioning that the easing of activity restrictions and travel guidance by the governments of the UK, Australia, and New Zealand add to the risk-on mood. Looking forward, a light calendar requires investors to keep their eyes on risk catalysts. Among them, US, China, and American-Russia headlines may entertain markets, while the COVID and vaccine updates should also play their roles. That's all for now from HFC Bank, Vinaka.
In an effort to ensure their staff are well versed with their products, Punjas Limited held a cook-off on Saturday in Lautoka. The company has more than 600 products and believes it is important for the workers to know the difference. The event also gave the staff an opportunity to come together and bond as a team, especially during these tough times. The course is run exclusively in-house to assist staff growth.
This is part of our commitment to continuous upskilling of our employees, professional development of our employees, and developing our high potentials. We grow people from within.
That is the latest from my end, but coming up after the break, we tell you the origins of many residents in Overlau. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Now, Loto villagers in Verata Tailevu are worried they might lose their ancestral land to climate change. Seawater is now reaching their doorstep during high tide, and villagers say the risk during natural disasters increases further. Sanya Nimboila reports.
This is the reality faced by Naloto villagers, and the situation is worsening day by day.
I can say it is getting worse. I am worried about our children. Climate change is slowly eating up our coastal area.
4 houses here in Naloto Verata Tailevu had to endure this on a daily basis. As climate change continued to affect coastal areas here in Naloto, together with their marine resources, Kuru Kitonga says he will not sit back and see his villages suffer.
We are now working on building our own seawall. This is done during our community work.
Naloto Development Committee Chair Sitiweni Tanga says tropical cyclones Yasa and Ana further deteriorated the village coastline.
We are pleading with the relevant authorities, especially the NGOs, to help us.
Naloto village in Verata, which is situated at the Tailevu coastline, is one of the biggest villages in the Tailevu province. Sainia Nimboila, FBC News.
Overlau is one of the islands in Fiji populated by people from the highlands of Navosa, parts of Lau, and the Solomon Islands. Levuka Vakaviti village elder Ratuchope Singaruarua says majority of those on the island were brought by Europeans who first settled in Levuka in the late 1800s. Josiah Nanunga reports.
People were brought to the island to work as laborers to build these colonial homes and the historic 199 steps.
People who are originally from Overlau were not allowed to carry out labor work when Levuka was developing to become a town. We have people who were brought in from Tailevu and Bukuya in Navosa to carry out this work. That was an opportunity as well for them to permanently settle on the island.
This is the same story for Viro villages situated along the southwestern coast of Overlau. These villages are originally from Onilau and Wotoa, but their ancestors had bought a piece of this freehold land in 1959.
Our forefathers bought this piece of land from Europeans. When we noticed the land purchasing procedure was done fairly and transparently, we opted to settle here right up until today.
These people from different backgrounds are now calling Overlau home. Josiah Nanunga, FBC News.
And today we caught up with the Fiji Rugby Union Chief Executive John O'Connor to get more details on the cancellation of major tournaments.
Will the FRU calendar be affected if the dates are moved back?
Depending on when the announcement will be made, the games planned for next week, then we have to reschedule it, and that will have an impact on the calendar.
Reo and Tailevu don't have a home ground, and are there talks with Nosori Town Council on when the ground can be fixed and when they can use it?
The Tailevu Rugby knew from before that ground one was not going to be available, so their main home ground now is Nakelvu, and the second, their alternative home ground is the Tudangbo Park number 2. Hopefully Nosori Town Council can complete the works while there's no rugby and no sports.
Is there any update on the women's skipper competition?
Hopefully reach agreement with a new sponsor for the women's competition. The timing of the competition is being discussed with the sponsor, and likewise with the coaches.
Also, is there any update on the women's 15s team since their World Cup has been shelved? What is the program that has been set for them?
While we had to announce the kick-off dates of the competition, we will be running club game competitions or the competitions throughout Fiji with the support of the development unit to keep the women engaged.
And Jamie is here with all the latest in sports.
Thank you, Edwin, and good evening. Ahead in sports, promising signs for women's rugby. And long distance, great guiding youngsters. This and more coming up. A provincial women's rugby competition is expected to begin soon, with the Fiji Rugby Union close to securing sponsors for the event. FRU had agreed to host a separate women's provincial tournament following a few setbacks with it being run concurrently with the men's Skipper Cup competition last year. Venina Rakautonga has more.
The FRU is making final preparations to not only start the competition but also help develop it.
They want to also look at development teams and likewise link with the deans, with the secondary school competition. So discussions with the sponsor have been positive.
FRU Operations Officer Saleh Sorovaki says no changes will be made to the format of the women's competition.
The format will stay with last year's top 8, which means Lautoka and Nassau still stay up. And Northland and Namosi and Nandi also stay up in that competition. So with the Vanua, we'll go with the same format as last year.
While the World Cup has been moved, the FRU is hopeful the women's competition will help national players.
While we had to announce the kick-off dates of the competition, we will be running club game competitions or the competitions throughout Fiji.
The Fiji Under-15s is continuing with training sessions and camps to keep the players occupied before the start of their season. Venina Rakautonga, FBC Sports.
3 secondary school students from Taviuni have marched into camp with the extended Fiji Under-15 squad preparing for next year's World Cup. As Eleanor Turangiviu reports, the FRU is scouting for more talent from the Garden Island.
Fijiana forwards coach Inoke Male is eyeing 3 Tavioni students to join the national women's 15s team.
There were 3 that were brought up to the national sevens. They were all school students. 1 in New Sawa and 2 in Holy Cross.
FBC Sports met 2 of the 3 students on their way to Suva in the weekend. 16-year-old Emily Taylor of Holy Cross College and 19-year-old Milia Kere Tikotani of New Sawa Methodist High School are looking forward to the challenge. While Taylor is new to rugby, Tikotani is not.
We represented the Conservative playing in Nandi in 2018 and 2019 we went to play in Lautoka. 2020 we went to play in last year we went to play in Tavu.
Malay is currently interviewing and conducting clinics for Fiji Rugby Union Super Week, and he's also using the opportunity to look for potential players. The Fiji Under-15 squad camps on a monthly basis and holds their training sessions at the HPU gym as they continue their preparation for the World Cup next year. Eleanor Turangaibiu, FBC Sports.
The Fiji Rugby Union annual general meeting has been deferred in light of COVID-19 restrictions. The meeting was to be held this weekend at the Novotel in Lamy. Chief Executive John O'Connor says the union will discuss a potential date once the Ministry of Health gives the green light. While many Fiji Sevens players have turned national heroes, the intensity of Sevens rugby is a challenge in itself for players and aspiring ruggers to commit to the game. FBC Sports caught up with Fiji Sevens playmaker Jerry Tuwai, who shares his insight on why some players' Sevens journeys are cut short.
It takes a lot of commitment to survive and excel in Sevens rugby.
It's all about focus and discipline, and as I said, hard work, because Sevens just take away a lot of your time and your strength because of the training. You can easily come and play, but the training, most of the boys drop out.
But other window of opportunities also pushes players out of the sport.
Most of the boys come and go because they see contracts and stuff overseas. It's we are only human. We have families and we need to support them.
One of the young and upcoming players who hopes to go far in his career is Sireli Mangala.
It's a big thing for me as already said, is a plan going into the squad. For me, representing Fiji is one of the big things in my life. For me, I've been planning if I already said if a chance for me to switch to 15s, then maybe 15s.
Tuwai stresses that Sevens rugby requires a lot of sacrifices, effort and discipline for players to create an unforgotten legacy in the generations to come. Tailima Terkula, FBC Sports.
Former Coca-Cola Games Senior Boys 1500 meters champion Yesnil Curran has been performing consistently in local competitions. Recently, Curran made Fiji's 3000 meters all-time top 10 list after clocking an impressive electronic time of 9 minutes and 2.72 seconds. Aquila Dama with the details.
He's been pushed by Isireli Naikele-Kelevesi for the past few months, and Curran is slowly reaping the rewards.
I made it, but yet more to come in next 3 months and a few more competitions, and I'm planning to improve my time. And
Curran's recent success comes as no surprise to Naikele-Kelevesi.
Yesnil is a well-behaved kid, a well-behaved athlete. Through what we've been given about training, he's been a good listener.
The 20-year-old became a household name when he beat then national rep Peterovi Tangomaki in the 1500 meters at the 2019 Coca-Cola Games. However, he says his coach can still compete.
some of the coaches, they only train and the athletes, but these coaches used to train with me as well.
Naikele-Kelevesi is confident Curran will keep on improving.
The way his time has been dropping down is just unbelievable so far. So we think he's gonna do much better than me and all the other previous athletes.
Curran is preparing for the Queensland athletic season when the borders open. Aquila Dama, FBC Sports.
The Fiji Secondary Schools Athletics Association is ready to assist schools that featured in the Maritime Zone yesterday. Andi Maopa Secondary School, Vivia High School, Rotuma High School and Ratufinau Secondary School will now have to make arrangements to travel back home early. This follows the cancellation of the Coca-Cola Games, which was initially scheduled to start on Thursday. However, the school's athletics body stands ready to assist.
But since the decision has been made by the Honorable Prime Minister, we will have to help them get back to their schools and pay for their fare or whatever amount we will need to give them to assist them to return to their bases.
The Nanronga football side will be hungry for its first win when the Digicel Premier League resumes. The Stallions are the only team in the DPL yet to register a win. Nanronga is scheduled to face Navua next, and its football president Muhammad Ali says the team needs to lift its performance before then.
We had some good opportunities which we didn't make it.
and we surely have to work hard on it. And come the next game against Navua, which we are treating as a very tough match, we'll prepare really hard for that match.
In Quirky Sport of the Day, we hear from a former U.S. Marine turned founder of the Underwater Torpedo League. The game, which started as a survival training tool, has now become an official sport. That's it from Sports Tonight. Angie joins you with weather after the break. And in Weird and Wonderful, the story of a grieving man and his emotional support alligator. Details coming up.
A big hello to you and welcome to the Weather World. Hope you had a wonderful day. Well, of course, there was a low pressure system that had a bit of changes to the weather in the capital city. Few places actually needed a bit of showers, so thanks to evaporation. Now to the other parts of the country. The west had a wonderful sunny day. Lautoka had 33 degrees and it felt like 38 degrees. Must have been a real hot day. Eastwards from Pack Harbour to Suva, so cloud cover played a role today and brought over a few odd showers. After all those sunshine, we encountered rain for a cool-off. The night has chances of it as well. Now moving further to the north, showers spread out here as well. The night will experience more showers. The places we will be checking out today is Suva, Nandi and Lambasa. Suva had a bit of showers, so the temps were calm at 30 degrees. But even with rain, it still felt like 35 degrees. Nandi and Lambasa had it feel like at 37 degrees with a percentage difference in humidity. At sea, southeast winds 20 to 25 knots, moderate to rough seas. Turning to the tides, high waters at 1:19 a.m. with low waters at 7:11 a.m. Sunrise at 6:17. For tomorrow, tables will turn weather-wise. The northerners will experience showers coming in from upper end. And looking further on to Thursday, showers will take over, so get your umbrellas ready. Now on to our shot of the day. A beautiful white stallion grazing in the greens in Singatoka. Remember to send us pictures, send it with a small description to our FBC News Facebook page. That's all from the Weather World. After Fijian Pulse, we'll see a wonderful emotional support animal that most of us will freak out upon sight. Stay tuned.
Thanks, Angie. In Fijian Pulse tonight, we ask, what preventative measures are you taking to protect your family from COVID-19?
We're just staying home and avoid going to crowded area.
I'm just teaching my kids to wash their hands and keep their hands clean.
My family and I, we're avoiding any form of social gathering.
Staying at home and not going to crowded places.
And recapping our main stories, we have another confirmed case of COVID-19. Expect more community cases, says the Health Ministry, and funeral classified super spreader as search for drivers continues. For these stories and others, you can tune in daily to our sister radio station Gold FM. To our poll question, this week we are asking, have you downloaded the Care Fiji app? Visit our FBC News website to answer. And you can send us newsworthy pictures and videos. Email fbcnews@fbc.com.fj or share it with us via our various social media accounts, including Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. You can also download our FBC app to keep updated with the very latest news and sports and listen to our 6 radio stations live. That's your news tonight. I'll see you again tomorrow. Until then, stay safe. Modemanda.